There are demons history tried to erase, creatures whispered about in lost scriptures and forbidden texts. But tonight, we open the pages of the Book of Forgotten Demons, where shadows hold secrets and names possess power. From spectral tricksters to ancient terrors, these entities have vanished from legend. But why? What were they hiding? And more importantly, who was hiding them? The Forgotten Demons, a lingering presence. Throughout history, myths and legends have whispered about malevolent entities lurking beyond human perception. These are not the well-documented devils of religious texts, nor the monstrous beings of popular folklore, but the forgotten demons, creatures whose names have faded from memory, yet whose influence still lingers in the dark recesses of the world. The birth of the unremembered. In ancient times, societies had names for these demons, warning their children never to speak them aloud. In Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and early European cultures, ritualistic chants and protective symbols sought to ward off these entities. Some demons were recorded on parchment or stone, yet many were deliberately erased, banished not only from the physical world but from memory itself. But can something truly be forgotten? The answer lies in the unsettling phenomenon of lingering malevolence, the inexplicable sensations that creep into the minds of those who wander into ancient ruins or abandoned settlements. Though no name remains to give them shape, their presence is unmistakable. A lingering presence in history. In many accounts of explorers and scholars, there exists mention of eerie encounters that defy explanation. A researcher studying the ruins of a lost civilization may feel unseen eyes upon them. A traveler passing through an old battlefield may hear ghostly whispers carried by the wind. These occurrences are often dismissed as tricks of the mind. Yet there are places in the world where such manifestations are too persistent to be ignored. One such place is the forsaken village of Elthorn in northern Europe. Its existence is barely acknowledged in historical records. Yet those who dare visit describe an overwhelming sense of dread. No known tragedy marks its past, no evidence of destruction or massacre, and yet no one lives there. Local tales suggest that something once dwelled among the villagers, something that demanded silence in return for survival. When the villagers broke this unspoken pact, they disappeared, not in death, but in obscurity, as though they had never been. Unseen but not absent. The forgotten demons thrive on the edges of perception. Unlike creatures that manifest in physical horror, these entities exist in the crevices of consciousness, influencing thought and emotion. Stories from different parts of the world suggest that these demons feed on forgetfulness itself, growing stronger as their existence is denied. Psychologists studying unexplained disappearances or mass hysteria in remote locations often note the similarities between these cases and ancient superstitions. A recurring pattern emerges. Areas once populated that have become mysteriously abandoned, journals found with incomplete entries abruptly ending, artifacts with no known origin appearing out of place in museums. The demons do not seek recognition, but instead revel in ambiguity, the thin veil between reality and myth. Modern science attempts to rationalize these occurrences, attributing them to natural causes, psychological conditions, or historical misinterpretations. Yet some researchers in paranormal studies argue that humanity's collective dismissal of forgotten demons is precisely what allows them to endure. By remaining unseen, they are free to exist without the constraints of belief or confrontation. Some individuals, particularly those sensitive to supernatural influences, claim to have encountered these entities in dreams or altered states of consciousness. They describe shadowy figures without discernible features, whispering names that cannot be remembered upon waking. The experience leaves a sense of profound loss, as if something has been taken, a memory, a thought, or even a fragment of identity. Protecting against the unnamed. How does one protect themselves against something that cannot be named? Folk traditions from isolated cultures offer cryptic guidance. Some advise carrying symbols of protection, while others emphasize the power of silence, avoiding direct acknowledgement of the entities lest one invites their attention. Certain locations are considered unsafe after dark, and some ancient texts warn against opening doors that were never meant to be opened. Interestingly, some rituals meant to ward off these demons involve forgetting rather than remembering. In a strange paradox, to actively push away knowledge of them is to weaken their hold, yet to forget entirely is to fall into their grasp. The balance is delicate, a tightrope walk between awareness and oblivion. The echoes of the unseen. The forgotten demons are not gone. They merely wait where human memory fails. They are the unspoken fears that surface in abandoned places, the lingering unease in places devoid of history. Whether real entities or manifestations of the mind, their influence remains undeniable. Perhaps the greatest power of these demons is not their ability to harm, but their ability to disappear without a trace, leaving only a whisper in the dark, an echo of something that once was but can never be recalled. And so, they linger, beyond sight, beyond name, beyond time itself. Rom, the fallen count of corruption. The name Rom is believed to derive from the old High German word Raum, meaning room or space. This etymology may metaphorically relate to his influence over vast domains, including cities and civilizations. Alternatively, Rom's name could be linked to Ronin, meaning to whisper, suggesting his role as a corrupting whisperer of lies and deceit. Rom first appears in the Lesser Key of Solomon, a grimoire detailing demons allegedly summoned and bound by King Solomon. He is listed as the 40th demon of the Ars Goetia and commands 30 legions of demons. Descriptions of Rom indicate that he was once an angel before falling from grace. Fall from grace. Like many demons in Judeo-Christian mythology, Rom is said to have once been a divine being. However, he rebelled against God, leading to his exile. Rom's descent into demonhood represents his transformation from a celestial entity into a being of ruin and corruption. Description and powers. Appearance. In traditional depictions, Rom manifests as a crow before assuming human form. This imagery aligns with his role as a bringer of messages, similar to how crows in mythology often act as omens or guides to otherworldly knowledge. The transformation from crow to human symbolizes his deceptive nature. He can appear unassuming or even helpful, only to reveal his true corrupting intentions later. Powers and abilities. As a demon of corruption and chaos, Rom possesses formidable abilities. Destruction of cities. Rom has the power to bring about the ruin of civilizations, leading to wars, moral decay, and the fall of empires. Theft of wealth and honor. He can steal riches and transfer them wherever he pleases, often redistributing wealth in a way that breeds resentment and unrest. Sowing discord, Rom incites rebellion and betrayal, particularly among rulers and those in power. Foreknowledge of the future. He is known to provide prophecies and insights, though often with twisted or misleading interpretations that lead people astray. Deception and manipulation. As a master deceiver, Rom influences people through falsehoods, exploiting their weaknesses to further his own ends. Rom's role in corruption. Rom's title, The Fallen Count of Corruption, suggests his central role in eroding moral integrity. Unlike demons that deal with direct destruction, Rom works through gradual decay, leading individuals and societies towards self-destruction. His influence is seen in several aspects. Political and social instability. Rom thrives in societies where corruption is rampant, as his presence ensures a steady cycle of deception and betrayal. Economic collapse. His ability to redistribute wealth chaotically results in economic disparity, financial crises, and greed-fueled disasters. Spiritual corruption. Rom's whispers lead individuals away from virtue, causing moral decay through temptation, lies, and manipulation. Rom and occult practices. Summoning and invocation. Occult practitioners who follow Goetic magic may attempt to summon Rom to seek his knowledge or power. Traditional rituals involve the use of a protective circle to prevent Rom from overpowering the summoner. The recitation of incantations found in the Lesser Key of Solomon. An offering to entice his cooperation, though his nature makes dealings with him inherently risky. Warnings against Rom. While Rom can grant riches, knowledge, and power, he is known for twisting the desires of those who seek his help. Many grimoires warn against making pacts with him, as his gifts often lead to unexpected ruin. Rom's influence in history. Throughout history, Rom's presence can be inferred in the downfall of corrupt leaders, financial collapses, and societal betrayals. Some theorists and occult scholars believe that his influence was present in the fall of Rome, as decadence and corruption led to its collapse. The French Revolution, where power was violently redistributed in a chaotic manner. Modern corporate corruption scandals, where deceit and theft lead to financial ruin. These interpretations are, of course, speculative but align with the themes of Rom's influence. Rom in modern culture. Rom has made appearances in contemporary literature, games, and media, demonology books, and occult fiction. He appears in many modern occult texts as a cautionary figure. Video games. Rom has been adapted into various games as a demon, often taking the form of a dark trickster or corrupting entity. Television and movies. Some horror or fantasy media include Rom-inspired characters who manipulate events from the shadows. His adaptability in different stories reflects his timeless role as a bringer of destruction and corruption. Rom, the fallen count of corruption, stands as one of the most intriguing figures in demonology. His legacy as a fallen angel, a corrupter of men, and a master of deception ensures that his myth continues to inspire fear and caution. Whether viewed as a literal demonic force or a symbolic representation of corruption in society, his presence is deeply ingrained in history, mythology, and even modern culture. Those who seek power from Rom must be wary. His gifts come at a cost, and his whispers often lead even the strongest to ruin. The legacy of dark entities. Throughout history, the concept of dark entities has permeated mythology, religion, folklore, and modern storytelling. These entities, often depicted as malevolent forces, symbolize the fears, struggles, and moral dilemmas of humanity. They have left an indelible mark on cultures worldwide, shaping literature, art, psychology, and even societal structures. Understanding their legacy requires an exploration of their origins, interpretations, and lasting impact on human consciousness. Origins of dark entities. Dark entities have their roots in ancient civilizations. In Mesopotamian mythology, the demon Pazuzu was feared as a harbinger of disease and misfortune. Similarly, Egyptian lore spoke of Apep, a serpent representing chaos and opposition to cosmic order. The Greeks had Hades and the Erinyes, spirits of vengeance, while Norse mythology presented Hel, ruler of the underworld. Religious texts also portray dark entities as figures of temptation and destruction. In Christianity, Satan is the ultimate embodiment of evil, tempting humanity into sin. Islamic traditions refer to Iblis, a rebellious jinn who refused to bow to Adam. Hinduism warns of Asuras, powerful beings who oppose the Devas, gods, and symbolize darkness within the cosmic balance. These figures, regardless of their origins, reflect an underlying human tendency to externalize fear and the unknown. Dark entities in literature and storytelling. Dark entities became a staple in literature, evolving to suit different eras and cultural fears. In medieval times, Dante's Inferno depicted the horrors of hell, reinforcing Christian doctrines about sin and punishment. Gothic literature of the 18th and 19th centuries, such as Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and Bram Stoker's Dracula, personified human anxieties about science, death, and the supernatural. The 20th century saw the rise of Lovecraftian horror, where entities like Cthulhu represented existential dread and the insignificance of humanity in a vast, indifferent universe. Modern fantasy literature, such as J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, depicted Dark Lords like Sauron as embodiments of absolute evil, while contemporary works like Stephen King's It and J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series explore fear through monstrous figures like Pennywise and Voldemort. Psychological and symbolic interpretations. From a psychological perspective, dark entities often symbolize the unconscious mind's fears and desires. Carl Jung introduced the concept of the shadow, representing the repressed aspects of one's psyche. According to Jungian psychology, confronting these dark elements is essential for personal growth and self-awareness. Many horror stories function as allegories for internal struggles, where protagonists battle personal demons that manifest as external threats. Freudian interpretations suggest that dark entities embody suppressed guilt, trauma, or forbidden desires. This is evident in works like Robert Louis Stevenson's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where the duality of human nature is personified. In modern horror films, themes of possession and demonic influence often serve as metaphors for mental illness or addiction, illustrating the internal conflicts that plague human existence. Cultural impact and societal influence. The legacy of dark entities extends beyond fiction, influencing societal beliefs and behaviors. Superstitions about demons and spirits persist in many cultures, shaping rituals, religious practices, and even laws. Exorcisms, once a common practice, continue in some religious traditions, demonstrating the enduring belief in malevolent forces. The fear of dark entities has also influenced moral and legal systems. Many ancient laws were framed around concepts of divine punishment, ensuring adherence to social norms to avoid supernatural retribution. In modern society, narratives about dark forces still shape political and ideological discourses, with certain groups being demonized metaphorically to justify social control. Dark entities in popular media. In film and television, dark entities remain a dominant force in horror and fantasy genres. Movies like The Exorcist, The Conjuring, and Hereditary explore possession and demonic influence, drawing from religious and folkloric traditions. Television series such as Supernatural and Stranger Things reinterpret dark entities for new audiences, blending mythology with contemporary storytelling. Video games also capitalize on these themes. Titles like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Resident Evil immerse players in worlds filled with grotesque and terrifying entities, reinforcing the theme of survival against overwhelming darkness. These interactive experiences allow audiences to confront their fears in controlled environments, echoing ancient storytelling's cathartic functions. The evolution of dark entities in a modern context. While traditionally viewed as external forces, modern interpretations of dark entities often blur the line between good and evil. The rise of antiheroes, such as Marvel's Venom or DC's Joker, challenges the notion of absolute morality. Contemporary fiction frequently portrays dark figures with depth and complexity, emphasizing their motivations and struggles rather than depicting them as purely evil. In psychology and self-help discourse, the concept of embracing one's darkness has gained traction. Rather than fearing the shadow, many advocate for acknowledging and integrating one's darker impulses as a means of achieving inner balance. This shift suggests that, as society evolves, so too does its understanding of dark entities, not as external threats, but as reflections of the human condition. The legacy of dark entities is deeply ingrained in human history, evolving alongside cultural, philosophical, and psychological perspectives. Whether seen as supernatural threats, allegories for internal struggles, or complex figures with their own motivations, dark entities continue to shape narratives, belief systems, and artistic expression. As humanity's understanding of fear and morality grows, so too will its interpretations of these ancient forces, ensuring their place in storytelling for generations to come. Ukobach, the infernal keeper of oil. Ukobach's origins are somewhat obscure, with no clear references to his name in ancient religious texts or mythological records predating the medieval and Renaissance periods. He is most commonly associated with Johann Weyer, a Dutch physician and occultist from the 16th century, who mentioned him in his influential work, Pseudomonarchia Daemonum, The False Hierarchy of Demons. Weyer, a student of the renowned occultist Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa, sought to catalog and analyze various demons, often with a skeptical or satirical tone. In Pseudomonarchia Daemonum, Ukobach is described as a demonic entity with a grotesque appearance, often illustrated with glowing eyes, elongated limbs, and a body that appears perpetually aflame. His connection to oil and fire has led to interpretations of him being a symbolic representation of human indulgence, destructive forces, and the reckless use of resources. Appearance and characteristics. Yukobak is commonly depicted as a small, impish figure with a fiery aura. His skin is often described as red or blistered, resembling a creature forged in intense heat. His eyes burn with an eerie glow, and he is frequently illustrated holding a cauldron, a flaming torch, or a vat of oil. Some sources suggest he carries a ladle, emphasizing his role in handling boiling substances. Unlike more powerful demons who command legions or tempt souls on a grand scale, Yukobak is considered a menial servant within the infernal hierarchy. His primary duties involve tending to the ever-burning fires of hell, ensuring that they remain hot enough to torment the damned. This association with perpetual fire maintenance aligns with medieval Christian ideas of hell as a place of eternal suffering through flames. The role of Yukobak in demonology. Keeper of Infernal Fire. Yukobaka's most notable role is as the keeper of hell's flames. Fire has always been a central theme in demonology, representing purification, destruction, and punishment. In this context, Yukobak is not a figure of immense power, but rather a diligent worker ensuring that the fires never diminish. Some interpretations liken him to a blacksmith of hell, forging weapons for other demons or maintaining infernal machinery. The inventor of deep frying. One of the most unusual attributions to Yukobak is the claim that he invented the act of frying food in oil. This peculiar idea stems from Pseudomonarchia Daemonum and later occult interpretations, which suggest that his knowledge of burning substances extended to the culinary arts. While this may seem like a trivial or even humorous aspect of his character, it can be viewed symbolically as a representation of decadence, indulgence, and excess, concepts often linked to sin in Christian theology. A loyal, yet low-ranking demon. Unlike high-ranking demons such as Lucifer, Beelzebub, or Asmodeus, Yukobak lacks the grandeur or influence to tempt or command humans directly. Instead, he is portrayed as an obedient servant, dutifully carrying out his tasks in the infernal realm. His unwavering loyalty to his duties has led some occultists to compare him to household spirits or lesser elemental beings that serve more powerful entities. Symbolism and cultural interpretations. The symbolism of fire and oil. Fire has long been a symbol of transformation, destruction, and divine punishment. In Christianity, fire is often associated with the suffering of the damned, as well as purification through trials. Yukobaka's role as the firekeeper positions him as a custodian of eternal suffering, ensuring that hell remains a place of torment. Oil, on the other hand, has both sacred and profane associations. In religious contexts, oil is used for anointing, symbolizing divine favor and sanctification. However, in Yukobaka's case, oil is connected to fire, destruction, and indulgence, representing the darker side of human consumption and wastefulness. This duality makes him a complex figure embodying both servitude and excess. Influence on literature and popular culture. Though Yukobak does not appear frequently in mainstream demonology or folklore, his unique attributes have occasionally influenced literature, art, and even modern horror genres. His grotesque and fiery imagery aligns with classic depictions of imps and goblins, creatures often found in fairy tales and dark fantasy settings. In some adaptations, he is reinterpreted as a trickster figure, using his knowledge of fire and combustion to cause mischief rather than solely tending to hell's flames. His association with deep frying has also led to humorous depictions in modern pop culture, where he is sometimes portrayed as a demonic chef or a mischievous imp involved in bizarre culinary experiments. Possible parallels in other mythologies. Yukobaka's characteristics bear similarities to various mythological fire spirits and deities. Some potential comparisons include Hephaestus, Greek mythology, the god of fire and blacksmithing, responsible for crafting divine weapons. Agni, Hindu mythology, the fire god, serving as a bridge between gods and humans. Jinn, Islamic folklore, certain fire-based jinn are known for their mischievous and destructive tendencies. Loki, Norse mythology, though primarily a trickster god, Loki has associations with fire and chaos. While Yukobak does not have the same level of influence or reverence as these figures, his connection to fire and servitude aligns with common themes found in various cultural traditions, modern perceptions, and interpretations. In modern occultism and demonology, Yukobak is often regarded as a minor but interesting entity, embodying the themes of punishment, industry, and indulgence. His role as a firekeeper serves as a reminder of the ever-burning nature of hell, while his connection to oil highlights humanity's complex relationship with consumption and excess. Some contemporary demonologists and esoteric practitioners believe that Yukobak could serve as an archetype for understanding energy management, both literally, in terms of fire and fuel, and metaphorically, in terms of passion, creativity, and destruction. Despite his lack of prominence compared to major demonic figures, Yukobak remains an intriguing symbol of devotion, fire, and the balance between servitude and indulgence. Yukobak, the infernal keeper of oil, may not be one of the most famous demons in occult lore, but his presence in demonological texts and cultural interpretations is both fascinating and unique. His association with fire, oil, and industry highlights a curious blend of menial servitude and symbolic power, making him a figure worth studying in the broader context of demonology and mythological archetypes. Whether viewed as a mere servant of hell or as a metaphor for human excess and punishment, Yukobak's fiery legacy continues to burn in the annals of esoteric history. These demons may have been forgotten, but now their names echo once more. Were they erased for our protection, or to hide something far more sinister? What do you think? Let us know in the comments. And if you crave more lost knowledge and forbidden lore, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications before the next secret vanishes forever.